somewhat empty full house here. I always think my job's pretty cool, and then I follow someone like that and realize my job isn't that cool, actually. So got about 10 minutes here today, and those lights are very bright, so if I'm squinting, it's just because those lights are turned up very high. So quickly, Peter Davies, run client solutions at MediaMath. For those who aren't familiar with MediaMath, we're a unified audience management and buying platform across video, display, social, and mobile. So I won't get into the whole sales pitch today. Hopefully we can talk through today what we're trying to talk about around talent. The good news is, just quickly, we all will have jobs when we walk out of here. We all will have jobs in 12 months, 24 months, and 3 years. Can we turn those lights down a little bit? Is that possible? Does everyone ask that in the first minute? Yeah, okay. Maybe I'll stand back a bit. So yeah, the good news is we're all going to have jobs when we walk out of here. Actually, in reality, we're probably going to have a lot of opportunity moving forward. I think Programmatic's actually creating a whole new world of opportunities for smart, industrious talent out there, and we're definitely seeing that. So today I'm going to highlight 4 areas that we see from both our partners and internally who are driving programmatic success. And if you're thinking about programmatic, these 4 roles or expertise really should be part of your business and your plan there. Quick show of hands. I can't see any of you, but hopefully this works. Who does programmatic in-house today? Okay, we've got a few people. Who here today partners with an agency to help them with that? A few more. And then who here works directly with their technology vendors to help them? A few. Okay, so we've got a mix, and then we've got some people who aren't doing programmatic. Hopefully I can still keep you engaged for the next 8 minutes. So look, the good news is today I'm not going to be able to tell you what the right setup is. You know, we work with a lot of agencies, work with a lot of client direct. It's really up to your business what that looks like today. I'm not here to share that with you. But again, these roles that I'm going to talk about, whether they sit with you, whether they sit with your agency, or whether they sit with your technology vendor, they need to sit somewhere there, and you need to be able to leverage those. There we go. I'll keep with the skiing theme. So I said before, I mean, if you think around the marketing talent out there as being the size of an ocean, I think if we think of digital, it's probably the size of a pool. And if we think of programmatic, it can probably best explain the size of a puddle. So there's therefore a lot of shortage in people. And you can see here some stats to back that up. I'm sure a lot of folks here we're seeing from our marketers, which is, hey, we need more folks to help us with programmatic, but we don't need generalists. We actually need specialists. And the areas that we're hearing from marketers there is around analytics, advanced optimization, supply chain engineering, which is like anyone in digital media, we can't try and come up with fancy names for something which is essentially ensuring that you've got the right publishers on board and you have the connections there to make the optimization work. And then lastly, social and mobile, which really used to sit out on the side, bringing back internally through one platform. This is Robocop skiing down the mountain. But importantly, you know, we all sat here, I think probably around 2007 when everyone probably knows the term RTB came out, which was machines are going to rule the world, they're going to take over. The reality is that hasn't happened, right? And there's 2 main reasons why that is the case. There's probably a lot more under that, but 2 for today. First and foremost, RTB is not programmatic, right? RTB is a subsection of programmatic, and you would have heard things around open RTB. Today, for any brand marketer or for any DR marketer who's out there buying through open RTB, they're only winning about 5% of any bid they put in there. So the opportunity cost there is about 95% plus. It's not a great strategy just to be bidding there. Today, with MediaMath, we see about 40% of our marketers doing what we would call privileged or private marketplaces. So if you think of programmatic, it's not one mega auction. There's thousands of mini auctions happening at any one time. So in order for that to actually be effective for marketers, you need to have access into all those thousands of auctions. That requires people. Additionally, you know, when you think of customer-centric marketing across a unified platform through multiple channels, all your data used to sit disparately, and whether that was doing endemic publisher buys itself or whether that was through social, email, whatever that looks like. So therefore, in order to bring all that data set together and have a true understanding through the funnel of that, it requires people. You can't have independent teams out there running their own race with some data sets. Unfortunately, it requires people to bring all that together. As I said before, it's about partnerships. I think we work with the Fortune 100 brands here in North America, and only really there's a handful of brands that are probably large enough with a large enough wallet in order to invest in programmatic to bring it in-house. We really do believe it's through collaboration. And the roles that we're going to dig into, and I've got some case studies here to go over quickly, is first and foremost, advanced optimization. How does a brand leverage advanced optimization? It's going beyond trading. How do you leverage audience management? Think of that as data management. And then supply chain engineering, and then tech leads around MarTech and AdTech. So we work with a top 5 North American retailer today. They are a self-service client, so they take our software, they manage all their programmatic themselves. We help them with strategies and insights and what have you. They've probably, like a lot of people, their attribution model is on last click at this point in time. They were having trouble in terms of scaling that across the programmatic landscape. Typically, a trader would be looking at the campaign and how do you bid on this. Most organizations now would have advanced programmatic strategy and optimization. This is essentially, think of them as ninjas of the programmatic world who really understand how to use data, supply chain optimization to bring a better outcome for clients. So the team sat with the client for about a month and tried to understand exactly what it is they were doing on a daily basis, and then started to implement some new strategies for them. By leveraging this team that doesn't usually work, isn't assigned to a specific client, but can be instrumented when required, they saw a 17.5x increase in their programmatic investment, but most importantly, they drove a 10x increase in revenue, and then a 2x in the post-click conversion window as well. So again, client had it fully self-service. The learning here was they were leveraging skill sets through their partner. In this case, it was MediaMath, but a very important piece here is the advanced optimization team. And I think we've got a couple minutes for Q&A if anyone wants to ask questions about these case studies. The next role is audience management. In this instance, we're working with an agency, Square One or SQ1. I can never actually remember which one it is. And essentially those guys, they were bringing the client on board from a retail perspective. The retailer today was buying endemic publisher buys directly, as well as some print ads. The agency knew there was a better way, and they had a data analytics team. They essentially engaged the client and said, look, we need to onboard your first-party data as a retailer. We were not involved in that discussion. This was the agency driving that and driving the strategy. When they bought the online data in, they actually set it up in the platform. We helped them make sure they had a test and control group, and that was set up effectively through the platform. The client also had visibility into the platform, so they could see what was happening. It wasn't, here's a report at the end of the campaign. They could actually see the strategy and what was happening in real time against their first-party data. What the agency ended up driving was a 5-to-1 ROI on the offline sales versus what they were doing with the endemic publisher buys. In addition to that, a 74% higher ROI, 38 from the endemic buys, and one of the metrics which I forgot to mention is viewability and ad fraud, and they saw a 38% higher increase when they actually started to onboard that first-party data versus buying directly from the publisher because there are inbuilt tools into the platform. Again, this is the agency driving this, but if you think around programmatic, a lot of folks wouldn't be thinking, how do we actually make use of our data here? And if you don't have a group of people thinking about that at the agency, at the tech vendor, or at your own organization, you're missing out on a world of opportunity to make that great recipe for programmatic. Oh, and 13% of ad budgets. Supply chain engineering, as I said, fancy name for ensuring that the marketer has access to all the publishers. I spoke about those thousands of mini auctions happening out there in the digital landscape. Essentially, those auctions, a lot of them you can't get access to just by logging into an interface and buying media. You actually need to have, who would have thought it, relationships. You actually need to have trading experience previously. So we have supply chain engineers, which are essentially instrumented against all of our brands who are using the platform to do a couple of things. First and foremost, for this client, this was another major retailer who was looking to maximize, again, their first-party data. Typically, they had gone on board against endemic publishers and had used their first-party data in the open RTB world. And what we wanted to do was take their first-party data and then overlay it with the publishers that we knew worked well, but through the platform. So what we did here is the supply chain engineers use essentially audience tools within the platform to find their highest value users to say, hey, this user who is buying, I'll use the example of buying shoes on a regular basis, frequent purchaser, they're indexing highly across sites like Glam Media, like CNN, wherever that might be. What we did is we went and had conversations with all of these sites and said, hey, we know how many of this audience is visiting your site. Why don't we set up a direct deal where we actually guarantee you a CPM, we guarantee you monthly spend, and then therefore for the publisher, that's great. All publishers want that. But in return, what we ask for is we actually get first access to that. We don't want to bid in the open RTB world. We actually want to get first access. Again, if a brand or an advertiser did not have supply chain engineers sitting there and instrumenting those deals on their behalf, both from a planning perspective, an execution perspective, and then operationally from an optimization perspective, they would have missed out on these outcomes, which was a 3x higher ROI for the programmatic direct, a 7x more efficient in terms of actually reaching their shoppers, and most importantly, a 16 higher ROI when executed against their most responsive audiences as well. Lastly, and I don't know if that time's right, This is something newer that we're starting to see. And essentially the role here that people need to be thinking around is their tech leads, right? Understanding that most people in this room, most marketers have invested significantly into some form of technology vendors, whether that be enterprise, whether that be data, whether that be DSPs. There's an investment that exists there today. Therefore, the integration of those investments really needs to come together, as I said, to make that programmatic success. You'll see today the Oracles, the Adobes, the IBMs of the world trying to lean in from the marketing world into the ad tech world or into the media world, right? Taking that all of that audience they're doing from an owned perspective. So think of email marketing, how they're actually using those audiences through their CRM and other channels. Taking that owned marketing and trying to execute that in a paid world. Typically how that was done was people putting pixels in email addresses, in emails themselves, and other just workflows which really are quite inefficient, and I don't think anyone really enjoys placing another pixel on a website or in an email. Stuff just doesn't need to happen. So what we're seeing now is a really strong integration across all of those technology vendors. So for the left arm, let's just call it the owned, and the right arm, the paid teams, actually being able to leverage that. So in this case, the advertiser, it's pretty, don't worry about it, fancy way of looking at essentially building profiles of people that have been sent emails and opened emails without the actual need to put pixels in, and then actually have those as targetable segments through the platform immediately for the paid media team, right? So the own teams there, they don't have to do anything, do everything as they normally would. Targetable segments available immediately, and in this instance, the client saw a 60% higher ROI when leveraging those targeting segments in addition to the third-party segments that they were using. That's the end. I know that we also, and I missed something at the beginning because I was so caught up in that EA Games video, which is we are doing a giveaway as well. I think Mike Renfro has been walking around with a fishbowl with business cards. We're giving away a camera, takes 2 photos every minute. So if you're, enjoy to take photos of people as you're walking around. And then you have almost like a collage that you can send around to people and say what a great event, or at a party or whatever it might be. Just make sure you get approval from people to take their photo, otherwise it's a little creepy. So Mike's walking around, make sure you put that in, we'll pull that out at the end. Quickly here, if you're thinking around programmatic, as I said, whether it's through the agency, through yourself, or through a partner like MediaMath, there are 5 roles that I really think that you need to ensure exist at one of those 3 constituents. Right? And again, the advanced optimization is critical, not just a trader, but advanced optimization. People that really understand the full scope of programmatic. Supply chain engineers, they have the relationships with the publishers. They can go and instrument your brand directly with that publisher, but yet through a platform, so you're utilizing your data, your automation, and so every decision informs the next decision. Likewise, analytics and insights and specialists, who here is trying to figure out attribution? Everyone. Who's here trying to figure out pathway analysis? Everyone. Who's here trying to figure out cross-device analysis? Everyone, I would imagine. Analysts are absolutely critical in that. Audience management is a little bit different in terms of how we're bringing together the disparate data sets and actually creating one customer view. And then lastly, the technical leads. So we've invested a lot in all of our tech vendors. How are we actually integrating them together rather than having their own team over here with their own with their proprietary tech vendors and the paid team over here with their tech vendors, and those two not talking? It's a really big missed opportunity. With that, I think I'm over, but I think Shireen is going to come back on for Q&A.
I'm going to come back on and pull you right off. I'm sorry we're out of time, but that was great. Thank you so much. All right, moving along. Scott Carlos is here.